What's up YouTube? This is the CEO Gamer. So I have an in-depth look into a video I just recently did where I was in a 1v3 on Last Titan Standing in LTS, and I ended up coming out, not dying, coming out with a draw, which is pretty difficult to do when you're facing off against 3 Titans by yourself. Generally, if it's a 1v3, you're probably going to die. 90 to 95% of the time, you are going to die. But there are those few percent of time that you come out, and a lot of things have to go right for you. And you have to make sure you do a lot of things well. You have to make sure you stay calm and focused on what you need to do and not kind of freak out. Inside this 1 minute clip, there are a lot of details in here that I think could really help both Ion players, both Tone players, Scorch players, and also just your general LTS gamer Titan play. And so I feel like I'm a far better Titan player than I'm a pilot. And I feel like I'm a pretty darn good Titan player in that there are certain things in here that I think would be very, very helpful for your game here. And I kind of just want to go into detail in terms of my thinking process while this was all happening and what I was trying to do in terms of tactics and what I was trying to accomplish in such a short period of time. So I'm going to kind of just play forward a few seconds here, then I'm going to pause, talk about a few details here, then I'll play forward, talk about a few details here, so you can kind of get a more in-depth micro look at what's really happening in this game and how much is really going on. It's 2v3 right now, but then all of a sudden, that Titan right there, who's my buddy Timmy, I get the word that he died outside of his Titan. So he's dead now. It's a 1v3, so he's pretty much useless at this point. And there's only about 57 seconds left in the match. So I have 57 seconds to somehow turn this into a win, which is very little time against 3 Titans. And so the only thing that Timmy's going to be useful for is a distraction. Other Titans may go after him as soon as they see him. But the bottom line is that I'm basically alone here. I do have a shield and 2.5 bars of health, which is a fair amount for me to go on the attack. I know there are 2 Titans straight down the end of this corridor somewhere. I don't know where they are. And I know one of them's a Tone, but I don't know what the other 2 Titans are, and I don't even know where the 3rd Titan is. Kind of in a tricky situation, but I feel like I gotta press on the attack because otherwise I'm not going to win this match. So let's go ahead and move forward here. I'm moving down the hallway for the attack. I got a laser shot. I see a sonar, so I know there's one Tone. And so there's one of them right there. And I fire the laser shot off, and I barely miss him here. So he's just able to escape. It's just a little bit to the left. I didn't lead it enough here. And so with the sonar detected, I know that some Tone 40mm cannon is going to try and be coming my way. So I want to try and back out so that he can't get a lock on me and he can't paint me here. So let's go ahead and move forward here real briefly. So I start to back out so he can't get a lock on me. But in that process, and somehow he throws a salvacore, but in that process, what happens is I turn around behind me and there's a Scorch. And a Scorch inside the central area in the complex, that's their power spot. Because they can contain a lot of the space, they can put damage in a massive amount of space, and you're kind of trapped. Now notice how he puts the firewall to the left of me, blocking my exit. This is very, very smart play from a Scorch because he's basically forcing me to back up and go into a position where I'm going to be fighting against the other Titans, or he can continue to trap me in that hallway. This is very good Scorch player. This is a very good move on his part here, that the only way I can basically get out of this hallway is to go over the fire and take damage. But since I got 2 Titans behind me, really my only option is to get out of this hallway. So, and I'm going to have to take some damage in the process. Otherwise, I'm just going to be flanked on both sides and I'll be dead in a matter of seconds. So, let's go ahead and move forward just a few seconds. He throws also an incendiary trap. Super smart to cover a wider area of damage, and therefore I have to take more damage, or a wider area of space, and therefore I have to take more damage just to get out of it. And so I've gone from full shield to almost, my shield is pretty much depleted at this point. Good thing is he's on critical, and he's got a little bit of shield going right now. That is in my favor. Basically, what I'm going to try and do here is use movement. Scorch is an Atlas class Titan. He's much slower. I'm an Ion. I'm a little bit faster. So I'm going to try and move out and move back in and get him with a couple laser shots and see if I can put him away. So as I move forward, I get the first laser shot out. I move out of cover. He throws his flame core and misses, thank God, because it probably would have been the end of me. I come back in, and then there he is. I get the second laser shot, and it looks like it was a crit, and basically now he's gone. So now it's a 2v1. This is a much more manageable situation. So now I'm not flanked on both sides. Now I need to return my attention to the 2 Titans. The Scorch was actually the biggest threat in that moment because If he had contained me in that space, I just would have been a dead man. I would have been just sandwiched on both sides here. So let's go ahead and move forward. And then turn around, there's the tone right there. And if you look, there's another one just behind him. What I try and do is pop the laser core super fast. It's basically I have a choice. I can go for it at this point, see if I can grind him out with the laser core, catch him before they're unsuspecting. Or I can try and take both of them on back inside that corridor. And I feel like, you know what, I got to go for the win. I got to use my core at this point. This will do the most damage. So it's my best shot really at kind of going after him basically here. So the good thing is that this tone underestimates how much time the laser core is. I have the Grand Cannon, so it goes for a longer effect. Either he overestimates or he makes a mistake on his part, which he should have just sat back, let the core exhaust itself, and then come back and attack me. And instead, he comes back into the area of damage of the laser core and he takes more damage than he needs to. So this was a major mistake. If the laser core doesn't have direct line of sight, you should just be outside waiting for that thing to exhaust itself. Don't try and anticipate. Let it exhaust itself, then reemerge and attack at that point. So this was something that was in my favor here. Okay, moving forward just a few more seconds. I try and get a laser shot off. I miss. He dashes out. Now all of a sudden he does a sonar. Now keep in mind he's already hit me 2 to 3 times with this 40mm cannon. So I'm pretty much close to being painted. But then as soon as he smartly, and this is smart of him, throws the sonar pulse out, now I'm painted at this point. That means since I'm painted, he can throw out his tracker rockets, which is really the best thing on Tone. It's his main weapon at this point. I'm expecting this. And so with that being said, you'll see me put up my shield, and I'm going to catch most of the tracker rockets. If I got another half second earlier, I would have caught all of them, which means I avoid the damage completely. If the tracker rockets had landed normally, then I would have been dead. That would have been the end of it. So one other thing I want to talk about real briefly right here, which is a mistake that a lot of Tones make, and it's something that I've talked about in my Mastering Ion video, which is that most Tone players, they get their 3 40mm cannon hits on, they paint you, and then they immediately fire their tracker rockets against an Ion. This is a beginner or rookie mistake by Tone players. Why? Because most Ions who have any sort of skill know that the tracker rockets are what can do the most damage. So they're going to save their shield, if they're smart, for the tracker rockets. They'll catch them and they'll send them back. And so most Ion players, if you're not doing it already, you should be counting Tone's hits. So this way you know exactly when the tracker rockets are come. This way you can throw up a shield or dash out of the way. So once that becomes like a muscle memory, it's just automatic. You're just doing it automatically. I was doing it automatically, and I knew that he was going to be sending his tracker rockets. Most likely he was going to be sending them, so I can just catch them and send them back. So for Ion players, key point here, make sure you count Tone's hits to know when you're painted, so this way you can catch the tracker rockets. Don't even worry about the 40mm cannon. It does very little damage. The key is to stop the tracker rockets. And for Tone players, you need to start mixing it up. Probably 9 out of 10 Tone players will just dink, dink, dink with the 4mm cannon. They got you painted, and then they fire the tracker rockets. This is very predictable. Start mixing it up, Tone players. I'm saying this not because I want you to beat Ions, but I want everybody to become better. And so if you're a Tone player, you should be mixing it up. Make 4 hits, 5 hits, 6 hits. Unload your whole thing. Force them to start guessing and kind of mistiming, because then you really start creating a little more chaos and you start creating more confusion and you really put them more on edge. If you become predictable that every single time you launch your 40mm cannon, you launch your tracker rockets, you're going to lose that battle. So super important tip for Tones here. Okay, so with that being said, you're going to see how I catch the rockets. I send them back, and then I start backing out because we're both pretty much at even this point here. And what I want to do is I want to reload my 40mm or my splitter rifle so that it's on full. Right now it's on 19. I want to get it up to full ammo just in case I need all of it. And I'm also getting out of damage, or getting out of line of sight, so he can't paint me with his 40mm cannon. So this is super important, just to make sure that you do as much as possible to not get painted, because once you get painted, then Tone can really start, doing the damage with the tracker rockets and building up his core. I reload, he comes around, he gets 2 hits. You see how much little damage that did to me. I got my laser shot in, critical hit, and he's gone. So now at this point, it's really just 1v1, and I'm feeling a lot more confident. I kind of move back around, I feel like, all right, let's see where they're at. I see that he's right there, and he's also on Doom. And this is some things that people forget, that when the time runs out, and there's only 2 seconds left, when the time runs out, whoever has more health wins. If it's Eamon Nover of Titan, then whoever has more health wins. If it's an odd number, like if you're outnumbered, you lose. We're even numbered here. And so even though technically he has more health, he has a shield, and he's got the full range of his Doom state, whereas I got nothing left, the bottom line is that when both Titans are on Doom, it ends in a draw. And so at this point, there's no point in me continuing to attack with 2 seconds left. And I'm not going to get past his shield in that 2 seconds. Even with 2 laser shots, I'm not going to get past the shield and destroy him. So what's the best thing to do? Back out of the corner, not taking more damage, and take the draw on this point, which in this case really is a win. So super important. Some people forget that or misunderstand that or don't understand how the win and the and all that happens in LTS when time runs out. And so that's pretty much it. That's my summary of this. That's kind of my in-depth analysis of this here. I hope you found this useful, and I hope you're now kind of able to see a little more detail and nuances in the play here. Some of the great things that Scorch did, some of the key things that I did as an Ion versus a Tone, some of the mistakes that a Tone makes by being very predictable. And so I hope you find all this detail useful. Tell me what you got out of the video. Do you like these in-depth videos where I kind of go more detail into what's happening and kind of explain more so that I can help you advance more in your game? Then other than that, I look forward to your comments and questions. Make sure to give it a thumbs up if you liked it. And that's it. I will see you guys in the next course and in the Titanfall world.